Tonight we welcome back a former student of this department who also happens to be an alum of Weatherworld, now with 2 professional careers. Dr. Tyler McCandless is a machine learning scientist at the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado, and also a world-class professional distance runner. Welcome back to the set of Weatherworld, Tyler. It's great to see you.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
So, it's been 7-8 years since you were last here. Kind of give us the Reader's Digest version of these intervening years, what you've been up to.
Yeah, so when I left 8 years ago, I was finishing my master's degree. Since then, I've got a PhD in meteorology from Penn State, focused on renewable energy prediction using machine learning. In that time, I've run a whole bunch of races over the U.S. and a few internationally, and I've married my beautiful wife, Kristen, and we're expecting a baby boy in June.
So, you've been busy. Machine learning scientist. It's a fairly unusual job title. I'd venture to guess maybe didn't even exist a decade ago at NCAR, National Center for Atmospheric Research, and maybe not even 5 years ago. Give us a sense of what that means.
Yeah, it's actually a new title as of just a year ago. So machine learning is basically a statistical way to solve nonlinear problems, and renewable energy is inherently a nonlinear problem for trying to integrate into the energy grid. So it's a great tool to be able to use in helping the world become more green off renewable energy. So machine learning is really a challenging problem to solve, and it's great to be a scientist with focus on that.
So the nonlinear part of this, of course, could be replaced with a number of words, including not simple, complicated, complex, and chaotic, which is what the whole Earth system is. You're here in part, I want to get this right, to give a talk entitled Machine Learning Techniques for Renewable Energy and Wildfire Prediction, right in your area of expertise. Give us some examples of using machine learning in those 2 applications.
Yeah, I'll start with wildfire prediction because it's a pretty fascinating topic. So in determining what the fuel content is, so the fuel moisture content, firefighters go out into the field and they take material, wood, and they determine the content of the moisture by putting it in an oven and incinerating it. Well, we can also derive that based on satellite data. So machine learning can learn the relationships between those observations and satellite-based reflectances and come up with the likely fuel moisture content as a gridded product that can give firefighters a better representation of what the fuel moisture content is and therefore what the likely fire spread could be. So this is very applicable in Colorado and California with the increased wildfires.
And what about on the renewable energy side? Can you give us an example there?
Renewable energy, solar power is inherently a very tricky problem. As a cloud comes over a large solar farm, there's going to be very little production. And in wind power, you have a cold front that moves through, all of a sudden it becomes really windy. Well, the turbines for the wind or the solar power is going to generate based on the weather conditions. So using machine learning, we can try to forecast based on observations what the likely generation is going to be, and therefore systems operators can make sure that your lights stay on based on the renewable energy.
Very nice. Let's spend the rest of the time talking about your other professional career. Already competed in 2 Olympic marathon trials, already qualified for the next Olympic trials, if I understand correctly. What's a typical week of training like?
It's a typical week. The last 3 weeks I've run about 110 to 112 miles a week. So I'm running about 10 times a week, 3 days I'll run twice. My long run on Sunday is about 20 miles. Getting up early, fortunately, my wife is very encouraging and will run a lot with me as well. So it's a great way to start the day, running hard, sometimes with friends, and then doing a second run after work or occasionally at lunch with an eyes on the prize of the 2020 Olympic Marathon Trials.
Talk a little bit about the overlap between your 2 professional lives. How has your career in atmospheric sciences informed your running career?
I think it's really important to keep a healthy work-life balance, and running is that for me for staying physically fit. And I'm very fortunate and I feel very lucky to be able to travel and compete against some of the best guys in the US and in the world. But it's really about being a healthy work-life balance where there's times where I'm certainly thinking about work when I'm running and I've solved programming challenges because my mind is clear. And there's other times that the run is very freeing and really opens your mind. And you're able to focus better during the day. And when I come home from work, I'm trying to be the best husband I can be. So you learn a lot from it.
talk about training at altitude, which is what you're doing right now. The advantages of that.
Everything is a little harder, especially hills. Hills become much more challenging at altitude. So you not only sharpen your physical capabilities, but your mental capabilities to push through when you're back at sea level.
So we just have a few seconds left for folks who are interested. When in, say, February and March, will you be competing and where?
I'll be doing the Rock and Roll New Orleans Half Marathon in February and the LA Marathon at the end of March.
All right, we'll check that out. Tyler McCandless, Dr. Tyler McCandless, welcome back to Weather World. Great to see you.
Thank you.
And we will be back in a moment with a recap of the short range forecast.